All right. You start off with 2 months and you said you're going to check it out, right? So are you still checking it out?
I'll probably stay. I can manage for a year.
Okay. All right. So good afternoon, everyone. What I wanted to, let's start with the Heart Sutra. I'll prostrate to the Arya Triple Gem. Just a second, I'm just going to start with the recording on my computer. All right. I prostrate to the Arya Triple Gem. Thus they hear at one time. The Bhagavan was dwelling in massive Vajra mountains in Rajgir, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage then who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that in the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition, factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness without characteristics. Unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not efficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composition of factors, no consciousness. No eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no eye element and so on up to including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extension of ignorance, and so on up to including no aging and death, and no extension of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on dwell on the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscurations or without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas dwell on it 3 times also manifestly, completely awakened to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra for great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies suffering should be known as truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared, Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisoha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indicated, even if the Tathagatas rejoice. The Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Shadvadiputra, Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya, Avalokiteshvara, and their surrounding in their entirety, along with the worlds of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. I go for refuge in Tinam enlightened to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the highest assembly. From the accumulations that I collect by teachings, I attain the state of a Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm a Buddha, till I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the highest assembly. From the accumulations that I collect by listening to the teachings, I attain the state of a Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the highest assembly. From the accumulations that I collect by listening to the teachings, I attain the state of a Buddha to be able to benefit all sentient beings. Are you all right, Yukila? All right, I apologize for the whole, there's a reason for that, which is connected to this class. So I have to leave a little bit early today. I have to have a dash for it. So I have my car ready here. I have to probably finish about 10 minutes earlier. Need to go and do something with Kanso Rinpoche Geshe Steering, who is waiting for me at 4:30. So I'll leave a little bit earlier. Sorry for that. I think that, all right, too loud for your ear. Okay, no worries. So I'm starting with apologies, and then I wonder if people at home can hear me. I reckon that you can. So Terry is asking, could you please talk about the difference in knowing something and seeing something for yourself? Terry, do you mean to say knowing something intellectually versus like understanding something, or kind of having that deep sense of knowledge for yourself? Is that what you mean?
Yes. I was just talking to my wife during the break.
Probably.
And she's, yeah.
We'll have to at least switch on at least one. Yeah, because
Okay.
Terry is speaking, and yeah, so just a second there, at least one, sorry. But I can, all right, no, it's okay. Try it out, Terry.
Okay, how's that? Any better?
Right. Yeah, I'll just kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
During the break, I was talking to my wife about knowing and knowing something from within yourself. And she's French. And she said in French, there's two different words with different explanations about knowing something from a book and then actually seeing it from your heart. And I was wondering whether there's anything similar in the Tibetan language, you know, that differentiates between the two knowings.
I think that probably you can say there is understanding, and then there's realization. Maybe we can use the word realization for knowing something from your heart. And as such, the difference between knowing something and it becoming a realization is that your mind becomes incontrovertible with respect to that particular thing. So it doesn't matter what other people tell you. If someone tries to convince you otherwise, if you have realized it with valid cognition, it means that your mind became incontrovertible with respect to it. And I think that that's probably knowing something from within. So, but I think that still knowing something from within and realizing something can also be different, in a sense that I think that when you speak about it just in conversational language, not in Buddhist language, or kind of, if you're not very strict or precise with the words, if you know something from within, it does not necessitate it being correct. You know, you can understand something, or you kind of think that I just feel it, I just know it for myself. It does not necessarily imply that what you know for yourself can be tested and verified. It might be that you have a small conviction in a particular thing, a strong conviction in a particular thing, so that you know it for yourself. You know for yourself, for example, what is right and so forth. But it doesn't mean to say that you've realized something with valid cognition. So when you realize something with valid cognition, you first of all begin with, you can say that if you follow a long process, you might start with a wrong view. And then you give rise to some doubt with respect to what you believe in. And then your mind starts to shift from wrong view to what is real or what is factual. You develop an understanding of a particular thing and you have a correct assumption. So in some levels, you can say that there's a realization at the level of correct assumption, which means that, for example, all of us trust that we are impermanent, or all of us can have a correct assumption with respect to ourselves being impermanent. It does not mean to say that we have realized it to the point in which our mind became incontrovertible with respect to ourselves being impermanent. So we know that, we can understand that. We can use the reasoning that we're changing from moment to moment, that my body is changing from moment to moment. I can realize that, but it doesn't mean to say that thereby I have removed any superimpositions or any doubts with respect to that, and I've realized it in such a deep level way so that it will never change. So there comes a point in which, when I have contemplated it long enough and deeply enough and applied to in my meditation process to my subjective experience, I come to realize it. So I think that this is probably where you begin with saying that I know it from within, for myself. But it's still a conceptual realization, and our goal is to then work with most of our realizations to turn them from being conceptual realizations to perceptual realizations. So Kate is saying that perhaps relevant here is the intuition as a concept. Yeah, we have kind of, I think, that intuition about a particular thing, and I think that it's connected with just kind of in a general sense saying that, no, I know it for myself, my intuition tells me such and such. Many of the times it is right, but not always it means that we realize reality correctly or that we see reality correctly. I'm wondering, Terry, am I going in the right way?
Yeah. There was one thing that's come up during the teaching today that in my mind, I thought I could see where I had been self-cherishing and where I'd been grasping and clinging and that. And I wondered if that would sort of fit into that category where I saw that I was doing it at different stages.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that puts a lot of light on it. So thank you very much.
No worries. I think that probably when we think of our afflictive states of mind, now we can understand how anger is detrimental. But I think that at least I haven't got to the point in which I know it for myself that I've realized how anger is detrimental. So of course I can use reasons and rationale and scriptural citations and so on and so forth to understand why anger is a negative state of mind, but I still react with anger. And when I react with anger, I need to kind of force myself to look at the drawbacks of anger, which means that I think that on a very academic or conceptual level, I've understood that, but I still have a way to go to make it more of a deep knowledge. Now, so what I thought of doing today was to speak about doubts that I have. So rather than just covering all the verses that we've discussed today, I thought of bringing up a few questions. We can discuss them, and also you can think about them, and we can discuss them further on in the week, and also ask Geshe-la his opinion about certain issues, right? So let's see how it goes. In order to do it, I wanted to first of all begin with with Lama Tsongkhapa's Lamrim Chemo. So in the second volume of the Lamrim Chemo, when Lama Tsongkhapa explains the practice of equalizing and exchanging self with others, I'm just going to change the font just a second. All right. So when Lama Tsongkhapa starts the explanation of the practice of exchanging self with others, it says, I think that it's in page 51 of the second volume. So it says, the sense of meditating on how to exchange self and others. So the phrases exchanging self and others and making oneself others and others oneself do not indicate a training in the attitude which thinks I am others or others' eyes, etc. are mine. They indicate a change in the orientation of the two states of mind of cherishing yourself and neglecting others, wherein you develop the attitude of cherishing others as you presently do yourself and neglecting yourself as you presently do others. So far, so good, right? It sounds like what Lama Tsongkhapa is saying, that we are not exchanging self with others. It's more like we're exchanging a self-cherishing attitude with an attitude of cherishing others. My doubt is that, but Shantideva actually says that when we think of self and others, when we spoke in the previous week of how we equalize self with others, we spoke about thinking of ourselves as being others. Do you remember that? So in saying that just as I'm a mere imputation, which is imputed and depends upon my aggregates, I can also impute I upon everyone else. I can also impute my body on the body of everyone else. And therefore, I can use that in order to develop the wish for happiness and to discard suffering. So do you see a contradiction between what Lama Tsongkhapa says at the beginning of his explanation and what we discussed in the previous week? No. All right. Hmm. All right. So Madam Bachuki says that she doesn't see a contradiction because, just as we think of I or mine with respect to parts of our body, we can extend it also with respect to others, and also understand how just as I depend upon others, also others depend upon myself. So in that sense, you don't see a contradiction. Yeah. So just as there's also an imputed I, there's also an imputed I on others. It means like each and every other living being have also their own imputed sense of I. And they all depend on risings. But when Lama Tsongkhapa says that I do not, so the exchange of self with others does not mean that I become others and others become me. So then I think that in the previous week, at least my impression was that with equalizing self with others, that I think that rather than thinking of I just this individual, now I'm going to think of I as being everyone else. So does it not mean to say that now I become others? So you say no. So why is it that I now do not become others if I think of So if you then think that you're now thinking of the bodies of everyone else also as being your body, and you need to protect them just as you do yourself. So you don't think about them as your body. So so I think that what you're saying is that we hmm. So Venerable Chuki is saying that but you can, because when we, for example, breathe in, we breathe in something that was that someone else has breathed out. You know, so in that sense, you can say that since there's still that exchange happening between oneself and others, we can maintain that also some parts of others become mine. Yeah. Yeah. That's about the physicality of the body. It's without thinking about the states of mind. So I wonder, what do other people think at home? You can unmute yourself, or each being mind stream is dependent on the previous moment of mind. Thinking we are other is just intellectual speculation. Right? So anyone else has something to contribute to that thought of what Laman Tsongkhapa means when he says that we do not exchange, that I do not become others and others do not become me. And yet, it seems that Shantideva's explanation in some sense does speak about adopting the thought that I am others. Now, I'm not saying asking you guys at home, I'm not saying that what Venerable Chuki said is incorrect. I just thought that it's good to have a few opinions and then see, I guess, for each and every one of us, which one of it makes sense to us. Lama Tsongkhapa's text, yeah. So the phrases exchanging self and others and making oneself others and others oneself do not indicate a training in an attitude which thinks I am others or others' eyes, etc. are mine. They indicate a change in the orientation of the two states of mind of cherishing oneself and neglecting others, wherein you develop the attitude of cherishing others as you presently do yourself and neglecting yourself as you presently do others. I think that that's like a really excellent way of summarizing equalizing, exchanging self with others. But it seems that along the way, I don't know, I get the feeling, I get a sense that along the way, you are doing something that is similar to thinking that I am others. But that's not, it seems that that's not what you. Hmm. All right, so people at home say that they cannot hear Venerable Choki, and that's why I'm repeating it. So we have the new audio system with those new mics, and they're, I think, programmed to be so sensitive that they will only get me and not get Choki, which is sitting, Chukila that is sitting far away from me. So that's why I'm repeating what Chukila is saying. We've been trying to make this also be connected to the audio system and put it somewhere over there, but it doesn't work yet. And there is no microphone. Yeah, well, I think that had it been possible to make use of this, we could have put this over there and then. Okay. Is that like a similar headset? We'll do it tomorrow. Yeah, next time. But it's also something that only you can use, right? Because of COVID-19. Yeah, BYO mic. Independent, inherently existing microphones. All right. So Jugita was saying along the way, kind of, sorry, we had a bit of exchange now, so I can't repeat everything that you said. But you said that also we have that idea that either the suffering or the happiness, let's say, that I experience is something that I alone undergo, and it's not connected with others. It exists completely independently from others. And also that, as we said before, other suffering doesn't harm me or others, my happiness is for me to be experienced alone. So we still have that idea that my experiences exist completely in and of themselves as well as others. Whereas here, we're training our mind to see also the dependency between my experiences and the experiences of others. So if others are happy, it will make me happy. Now I can cultivate my own happiness and well-being. It depends upon others' happiness and well-being, and vice versa. When others are suffering, when they're not well, it also affects my own happiness and well-being, and also brings down my happiness and well-being. Yeah, but we're not taking on the suffering, headaches, and so forth. We can't. We just do it in a Tonglen meditation, but not in a practical sense. So it seems that, Chukla, what you're, I think, implying is that although maybe we can think for the meditation that I am becoming, that, for example, I am others, or my body is somebody else's body, and I'm doing it for the sake of developing the equality of oneself with others, but it's not that in practicality, like in reality, I become someone else and they become me. Is that what you're implying? Not 100%. I'm just going to manipulate your answer in order to fit mine. Yeah. No, I'm just joking. Good enough. All right. So Ollie is saying, perhaps if we adopt the Chittamatra mind basis of all, we can think of others as ultimately the same as us. I don't necessarily see the immediate connection. Ollie, could you explain what your idea is?
Yeah, the mind basis of all sort of assumes it's like we sort of ultimately absorb back into the ocean of oneness sort of thing, doesn't it? Like there's an ultimate, well, no, not ultimate, but there's an ultimate state in which we all sort of merge, as it were. That was sort of my understanding of the Chittamatra mind only position.
I'm not sure that this is their view, their actual view. I think that they're said the mind basis of all to be the illustration of the person, but whether on an ultimate level all of us merge into kind of one ocean of consciousness, I'm not sure. Maybe we can ask Ishra tomorrow about it.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. All right. So that's one doubt that I wanted to bring up. So I think that it's good to continue to think about it, and we'll probably visit that again. I think that I brought up this point because when we look at today's verses, yeah, just so in verses 111 and 12, as far as I remember, one can develop such an attitude if one familiarizes oneself with the equality of self and others in verses 111, 112. Let's read through them quickly. Although not my possession, through familiarity, I came to regard the drops of sperm and blood of others as I. So in the same way, why should I be unable to apprehend the bodies of others as I? It is not difficult to posit my body also as other. Right, so that was the basis for this doubt that it came up with. So think about it. We can probably ask Kesha tomorrow about it. That's my first point. Then let's look at other things that we've covered today. So today we started with the practice of exchanging self with others. Now, the way to exchange self with others, I think that the meaning of that is, as we said up until now, exchanging a self-cherishing attitude with an attitude of cherishing others in verse 113. Let's look at that quickly. Having understood myself to be faulty, which means rather myself than my self-cherishing attitude to be faulty, and to be a notion of excellence with respect to others. Others' cherishing attitude is a notion of qualities. I shall cultivate completely discarding cherishing myself and adopting others. That's the essence of exchanging self with others, right? Seeing the faults of cherishing oneself and the good benefits, the good qualities of cherishing others. I should cultivate completely discarding cherishing myself and adopting others. So in relation to that, often sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. Often the meditation outline for equalizing, exchanging self with others is, first of all, equalizing self with others, then considering the drawbacks of cherishing myself. Third step is considering the advantages of cherishing others. Now, with respect to point 2 and 3, I think that it's not that it would be, I don't think that it's a definite sequence. You might think of the great benefits of cherishing others and then the drawbacks of cherishing yourself. But I think that maybe it's more intuitive to think of, first of all, what's the problem with our current situation? Once you understand the problems with your current situation, with our current situation of cherishing ourselves, then we can be more enthused about considering the advantages of cherishing others. Then we have the actual exchange in which we cherish others more than we cherish ourselves. And in order to enhance it, we meditate on giving and taking. Right? So meditating on giving and taking is not like an official part of equalizing and exchanging self with others, but often they're being practiced together because it's an excellent method for reducing our self-cherishing attitude and increasing our ability to care for others. So that's verse 113, the actual exchange. So then we familiarize ourselves with cherishing others. There's the capacity to exchange self and others and the pacification of conceit, instructions to make an effort in this meditation without looking for the fully ripened effect. Doing more for the sake of others, one will be able to develop such an attitude if you familiarize yourself with it. I think that all of these points were rather clear, and then one should meditate on exchanging self and others with a desire to free both self and others from suffering. I wanted to pull out a point from verse 120. Actually, let's read through those verses up until 120, see if there's anything that comes up in mind. In the same way as the hands and so forth are asserted as limbs of the body, likewise wire-embodied creatures now asserted as limbs of migrating beings. Through familiarization, a mind of I rises toward this body devoid of a self. In a similar way, why should a mind of I not be produced towards other sentient beings also through familiarization? Again, I think that it's related to the question that I asked at the beginning of our meeting today. Then, although I enact others' welfare in this way, conceit or amazement will not arise, right? So we'll not be full of ourselves thinking that we're doing so great for the sake of others. It is just like not hoping for a return due to having fed myself. Therefore, just as I protect myself from unpleasantness, however slight, In the same way, I should familiarize myself with a mind of protection towards migrating beings and a compassionate mind. Hence, out of this great exalted compassion, the protector Avalokiteshvara even blessed his name to dispel the fear of being amongst migrating beings. Then I should not turn away from what is difficult. By the power of familiarization in this way, I will become unhappy even when someone whose name, when heard once, frightened me, is not around. So Lama Tsongkhapa actually speaks, mentions that in his guide. Where is it? Let's see, there it is. Sorry, it was before. So when Lama Tsongkhapa explains the ability to exchange self and others, if you accustom yourself to the thought of doing so, he says, take the example of your enemy becoming a friend. At first, when you had even the name of your enemy, fear arose. Later, you were reconciled and became such close friends, and that when this new friend was absent, you were very unhappy. This reversal resulted from familiarizing your mind with a new attitude. So likewise, if you become habituated to viewing yourself as presently, view others with an attitude of neglect, and to viewing others as you presently view yourself with a cherishing attitude, you will exchange self and others. I think that for us, probably it's hard to think of examples of our enemies becoming friends because we don't have often those arch enemies, but we can think of, I guess, schoolyard politics, other from our own experiences where, you had someone that was not your close friends when you were young, and then they became like best friends later on. So Chula is saying that also looking at things that people say in our society, phraseology, did you say? All right. So you said that, I wasn't happy with what that person was doing. I wasn't impressed with what that person was doing, but later on we became best friends, something like that. On first meeting, yeah, in first meeting, I wasn't fond at all with their behavior, but then we became best friends. So he said it also happens in retreats. You sit next to someone, you have no idea who the person is for 10 days. Yeah. So Oli is saying, as Lama Tsongkhapa was known to have achieved enlightenment and Shantideva was by most accounts on the second Bodhisattva ground, should we not give Tsongkhapa the final say? Well, I'm hesitant to offer the victory to others. Yeah, definitely we should. I think that we should give Tsongkhapa the final say, but I wonder then in what way should we interpret or what understanding do we draw from our discussion last week? So what I wanted also, another point that I wanted to make is with respect to verse 120. Whoever wishes to quickly protect himself and others should practice the holy secret, the exchange of self for others. So Geshe-la mentioned it in his session, but I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page. The practice of equalizing and exchanging self with others is called sometimes the secret practice. So there are two ways of viewing it as a secret. I think that maybe we've discussed it before in relation to Tantra, could be. Maybe last year in relation to Tantra. So some things should be kept secret. As Geshe-la said, we don't want to kind of become pious, like, pretend as if we're such great practitioners and telling people how greatly we do when we exchange self with others. It can be quite awkward sometimes when you kind of, if someone is experiencing problems, then you meet that person and say, don't worry about it, I'm now taking your suffering upon me, and thereby you're completely free from your suffering. Sounds pretty pious, doesn't it? Pretty awkward. Yeah, not only that, it's not true. So first of all, it is said that this practice should be kept in secret, should be kept secret to yourself. So first of all, in order to prevent oneself from becoming proud, right? So we don't want our practice to be tainted by the 8 worldly concerns. So there's a danger that, if we boast about a practice, or we make it available to everyone, how, what we're doing at the moment, that we are actually affected by the 8 worldly concerns. That's one thing. And in relation to that, the 7-point mind training, as far as I remember, says, change your attitude, but don't change your behavior. And I think that when it says change your attitude, but don't change your behavior, it means that don't kind of be pretentious, right? Don't be pretentious, just be normal, so to speak, but change your attitude, just like Shantideva, as Geshe-la mentioned today. So that's one way of keeping it a secret, not letting others know what we're doing. Another thing is, it is said that, and we encounter that in the commentary, it says that those who are not a suitable vessel for these instructions. Yeah, there are different ways of viewing things that they cannot handle. So for example, in this commentary of Khenpo Kumpen, it says in relation to verse 120, it is a secret because it lies beyond the possibilities of the Shravakas and others. The Shravakas are hearers and solitude realizers. So I think that it doesn't elaborate, but it says, I think that when it says it is beyond the possibilities of Shravakas and others, it says that it implies that it is not possible for them to put it into practice. So since they are not suitable vessel, then those teachings should not be given to them. Well, they have immeasurable compassion. Yeah. So Chokila is saying that kind of she has some doubts about it, because it does say that Shravakas, hearers and sort of realizes, have immeasurable compassion and also immeasurable loving kindness, because they do meditate on that. So is it that they don't meditate on equalizing and exchanging self with others? Well, it brings me to the next point that I wanted to bring up, and since the time is running out for me, but I wanted then for us to discuss the meaning of self-cherishing, because here we're speaking of exchanging a self-cherishing attitude with an attitude of cherishing others. So if you were to try to describe a self-cherishing attitude in 1 or 2 sentences, and I'm saying 1 or 2 sentences just in order to kind of, for us to try to be as, I guess, precise as we can in our mind with respect to what it means. So if you try to describe what it is, how would you do so? So putting your ego in front of somebody else's ego. So what does it mean when you put your ego in front of someone else's ego? Yeah, my needs are more important than yours. Putting my needs before others, what he's saying. I think that it's kind of along the same way. I think that Chukila will probably agree. Yeah. So on the basis of grasping at I, an inherently existing I, this is me and this is my body, then we have also a mind of cherishing myself that comes in, which is kind of brings up another level of exaggeration. Yeah, mine brings up mine. I would also say, I would say things that are similar to what all of you guys said, that cherishing myself is thinking that my happiness is more important than others' happiness. That my suffering is always more painful than others' suffering, right? So it's similar to saying that putting my ego in front of somebody else's ego, putting my needs before others and so forth. I think that we're getting to a similar point. So often when we discuss, when we try to pin down consciousnesses, we look at what they observe, what is the focal object of a certain consciousness, and what is the aspect, what is the mode of apprehension. So for example, we say that with respect to compassion, we observe suffering sentient being. The aspect is wishing them to be free from suffering. So that's a correct consciousness. It's a positive, virtuous state of mind. Now with grasping at a self is focusing on a self, but with an erroneous mode of apprehension. It apprehends the self as if it exists inherently. So the focal object is the self. The mode of apprehension is inherent existence. So what I wanted you to think about is, what is the focal object of cherishing myself? What is the mode of apprehension of cherishing myself? So the focal object, you say, is inherently existing I. What do you reckon, Georgie? Take a guess. If you take a guess. People at home, if you were to take a guess, what would you say? The aggregates, what are you saying? All right. I will leave this question for you to think about today. Sorry? What is the focal object of self-cherishing? And what is the mode of apprehension of self-cherishing? What is the aspect or the mode of apprehension? So that's one question that I will leave you guys with. And another one that I will leave you with is, today we spoke about self-cherishing being the doorway to all torment. Right? So self-cherishing is the cause for suffering. Now we say that actually when we speak about what is the root cause of suffering, we say that it is ignorance of grasping at the self. So my question is for you to think about, what is the cause of suffering? Is it self-cherishing or is it grasping at the self? So we'll discuss it tomorrow. I need to go now, so bye-bye. So I will leave it here for now. Let's do a quick dedication, and we will continue this discussion tomorrow. Due to this virtue, may I quickly become a Guru Buddha and lead all transmigrated beings without exception to that state. May the precious Supreme Bodhisattva not yet born arise. May that arisen not incline, but increase more and more. In this land encircled by snowy mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good, all powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso. Please remain until samsara ends. You uphold the subdurer's moral way, serves an bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Majjuna's victorious doctrine, masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, protecting of myself and others, your disciples. Please live long. Thank you very much, people. See you tomorrow. I'm going